Out of its selfish interests, the U.S. has used tariffs as a weapon to exert maximum pressure and seek selfish gains. This seriously infringes upon the legitimate rights and interests of countries, violates WTO rules, undermines the rules-based multilateral trading system, and destabilizes global economic order.
नमस्कार दोस्तों. To understand the trade war that is going on between US and China, we have to understand both the countries and both the heads of the respective states. See, US is led by Trump, and we all know the characteristic of Trump. But we also need to know more about China and its President Xi. See, China as a country and as a overall its leadership and its policies has some very typical and specific characteristic. First of all, they are very good at exploiting any weakness anywhere. So they are the first to encroach or to exploit any situation in the world, right? Number two, they are very good at telling lies. They will never accept their fault. Instead, what they will do is they will put the blame on others, though they might be fully wrong. So this is a very typical characteristic of China that one has to understand. The third is they are good at bluffing, in the sense that they will do exactly the opposite what they say publicly, right? So if they will never accept their weakness. Instead, they will throw the challenge to others, right? This is a very typical Chinese characteristic that one must understand. The fourth is they will always find the fault with others, and they will never accept that it's their fault. This is also a very typical Chinese characteristic. So, if we see this trade war going on between US and China, so what China is saying that America is not fair, America is disturbing the world economy, and America is blackmailing everyone. Now, one must has to ask, how come China is having a trade surplus of more than 300 US billion dollars? $300 billion, right? China has exports of worth more than 400 and close to 450 US billion US dollars to US, while America has just around 150 worth of goods exports to China. So this is a huge margin. And how is this happening? This is happening because China has imposed huge tariffs on US, while US was so far has not imposed strong tariffs on China. It's for the first time that the Trump administration has identified this and has imposed reciprocal tariffs on China. So when China says that US is not fair and US is disturbing the world economy, it must ask itself what it was doing for all those, not years, for decades. How come its trade surplus has reached beyond 300 billion US dollars? No country will accept it. So why should America and President Trump should accept these unfair practices? So it's totally unfair on the part of the China to blame Trump and the US administration for this latest tariff imposed by President Trump of 125%. I think sooner or later China will or has to accept its error and should reach out to President Trump and try to negotiate with him. I think he will consider it, and there has to be some sort of balance. Otherwise, the US is going down and will go down within years if the same continues. So President Trump is doing very right thing. On the contrary, this Chinese they are like always they are doing and are trying to exploit has always exploited any weakness or any liberal rules anywhere. They have done this in America. They are trying to do this in Europe when they are flooding the European market with their cheap electric vehicles. They are flooding the Indian markets with cheap plastic products, food products, and everything. So this is not fair. So instead of saying that China has stood up against the US, we must say that the world should stand against China and should support US at least this time. So this game has to end, or this Chinese game has to end, and I think sooner or later we hope and expect that Trump will come out as a winner. Thank you very much.
This move is against the whole world. Taking necessary countermeasures to oppose the US bullying moves is not only aimed at protecting our own sovereignty, security, and development interests, but also for safeguarding international fairness, justice, safeguarding the multilateral trading system, upholding the common interests of the international community. A just cause has the support of many. The US move doesn't win the support of the people and will end in failure. Let me stress that tariff wars and trade wars have no winners. China does not want to fight them, but will not fear when they come our way. We will not sit by and let the legitimate rights and interests of the Chinese people be deprived of, and we will not sit by and let the international trade rules and multilateral trading system be undermined. If the US is determined to fight a tariff and trade war, China's response will continue to the end. The US has put its own interests over the public interests of the international community. It has served its hegemonic interests at the expense of the legitimate interests of the whole world. This will meet with stronger opposition from the international community.